Serious, what was the scariest, most life-threatening situation you have ever been in? What happened and why? I was walking on the side of a poorly lit country road in the middle of the night and was too tired to hear a car coming. Someone hit me at about 60 miles per hour, I'm guessing. Knocked me out of my shoes. The driver didn't stop. I was fading in and out of consciousness in the road and couldn't move my legs. I used what energy I had left to drag myself off the road and call for help in the loudest voice I could. Luckily someone heard me. Ambulance came. Broken tibia. Scapula. 0/10 would not do again. Delivering a pizza to the hood one winter night. Listening to the police scanner as I tend to do in the city. I pull into the driveway. 250 Ravine Street, and I'm sitting in the car collecting the receipt and stuff for my delivery when boom 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 boom, look to my left and in the driveway next door. The guy was shooting into the F-King house. Meanwhile I'm sitting in the next driveway watching this guy. With a F-King light up car topper on. We have multiple calls now. And shot spotter picking up 6 shots. 252 Ravine. The guy walked down the driveway. Stops. Looks at me staring at him from my car. Then just walks down the street away from me. So I realize mine isn't nearly as intense as some of the others. But I was hiking alone one evening. Fast forward. The sun went down, so I was stuck hiking 2 miles alone at night in the woods, and I hear the cry of a mountain lion somewhere behind me. If you've never heard one, go look up what they sound like. F-King terrifying in the dark. I end up walking the majority of the way back to my car backwards. The only thing I'd ever been told is not to turn your back to a mountain lion because they naturally ambush surprise attack. Made it out safe, so it must have worked. Never been so scared in my life. TLDR, hiking in the woods in complete darkness and heard a mountain lion behind me. This is true. They like to jump on your back and grab your neck. If you ever see one, make sure that it knows you see it. Knowing you can and will fight back will give it second thoughts. When I was a freshman in high school, our family was coming home from a wake for my brother's mother-in-law. We were driving down a dark road when suddenly my dad has to slam on the brakes. The car in front of us got hit head-on by a Ford Pinto wagon model. The Pinto got spun around and ran into a ditch. When the Pinto was spinning, we saw a man get thrown out the back window. And a woman fall out the passenger door. We stopped to help. Along with a few other cars. When we got to the Pinto, the driver was dead. The man and woman who fell out were dead. But we also noticed diapers all over the ground. Which made everyone start looking for a baby. I found the baby alive. About 20 feet away from the man. We think he was probably holding the baby in the back part of the Pinto when the crash happened. The guy in the car in front of us was fine. Just a bump on his head and in shock. Was doing 70 miles per hour in the highway when the car in front of me ran over a box of an unassembled dresser. Wood just exploded about 20 feet in front of me. Was probably too close to the car in front. I made evasive maneuvers and lost control of my car and did a few spins. All of this happened on an overpass too. When the car stopped spinning, I sat facing incoming traffic in the dead center of the highway and quickly pulled over to the side. I managed to avoid all the wood, all the cars around me, and the edges of the bridge. The spin lasted so long my wife had 3 long screams, catching her breath in between each one. After that, I was pumped up from the adrenaline rush and got a high five from a guy who pulled over. My wife was in hysterical tears. How did you feel about that high five? 2 years ago I was in a serious car wreck. An industrial size, think plumbing, van hit me right on my door going about 65 miles per hour. It knocked my car over several lanes and crushed it to the point where the seat that I was in ending up in the middle of the car. It took an hour or so for the fireman, I assume, to cut the car open. When I got to the hospital, the doctor said with everything considered I shouldn't have really been alive. Doing fine now with no lasting damage except some scars from where it ripped my eyelid eyebrow up. Was nearly crushed against a warehouse shelving rack by a co-worker driving a cherry picker forklift. Throwing out garbage cardboard during a slow time of day, it's the thing to do when there's no orders to pick. Had to squeeze between his machine and the rack while holding a sizable amount of junk. Only about an inch or so on either side. Suddenly, and without looking, this guy fires up his machine and starts moving towards me. If I hadn't let out that primal howl of terror, I'd be a dead man. A coked out hoodrat thug waved a gun in my face. He shot someone else, non-fatally, later that night. But he was holding that thing an inch from my face. I was looking down the barrel. That was pretty bad. I was rollerblading on the bike path. Drunk with my buddy. I misjudged this massive hill that leads right into a busy traffic intersection. I thought I could ride it out. Halfway down it, I wanted out, but was already flying and couldn't stop. If I went down to stop, I would have easily broken something. My buddy, on his bike, rode up ahead and frantically tried to slow down traffic. As I get to the intersection, of course it's packed, and I zip right out in front of a big pickup truck, who my friend luckily stopped. Weaved my way between the two lanes of traffic, and rode to safety on the shoulder. Once I realized I had to ride it out, my mind was very focused. I guess once you commit you f***ing commit. It's kinda like skydiving. Once you're in for the ride, you're going down for the f***ing ride one way or another. And it's a lot better to pull parachute than to just close your eyes and cry. When I was about 13-14, my friends and I used to climb over these old ruins that my town has. They're made of stone and are right by a river. I climbed up to one point once, higher than I had before, and my friend told me to join them on this other part. That required a bit of a jump. So I jumped across this gap and landed the other side. I wobbled like crazy and nearly fell off. I would have plunged down to my death in a very shallow river. I would have definitely broken my neck. It was that moment when I first sort of realized how easy it is to die. Like an awakening to the fact I am actually mortal. Needless to say, I never climbed that high again. 9/11 in the Pentagon. My old job had me traveling around rural Newfoundland in the middle of winter. Take it from me, you do not want to get caught driving your Honda Civic through the middle of nowhere in the middle of a massive blizzard. I know this won't compare to any of these other stories, but when I first got my license, I got stuck in a blizzard. I was out at a friend's house and I wasn't really sure how to get home or even out of the neighborhood. I was new to driving, so I didn't know how to work the defrosters and could only see about 3 inches from the bottom of the windshield. Everything else was foggy. I drove home on the interstate going about 10-15 mph. When I went on the entrance ramp, I remembered that there were no bars to prevent me from driving into a ditch. I stopped for about 2 minutes in the middle of the ramp, but I realized that someone could crash into me from behind, so I kept on going. It may not seem that terrifying, but as a new driver, I had no idea how this intense blizzard could affect me and my driving. I was almost hit by a car. I was walking and was reading Reddit. Then a car swerved up onto the sidewalk, narrowly missing me and hitting a fence. No one was hurt, luckily. And that's the story of how I was almost killed by Reddit. Removed. 7. 4 earthquake in Nepal. The small big one. Not the huge 7. 8. People died in places I had been. I walked through the hardest hit area the next day. Sobering to know that a dead 13-year-old girl was pulled out of rubble right where I was standing. I was one of the Marines on the V-22 Osprey out there. I felt the second earthquake. It was my first. I'm from the Midwest in the US, where we have little to none. It was utterly terrifying. And I'm just happy we were able to help. I just wish we could have helped everybody. The 100-pound clock above my TV fell. Some people may not think this was scary, but I thought there were people in my house. I was like a f***ing ninja with my aluminum baseball bat, walking around the house. When I went to go check the windows upstairs, The stairs creaked so f***ing loud I just ran outside and then realized I should probably check for vehicles and signs of a break-in from out here. So yeah. Nothing really happened, but the crazy loud sound of something breaking really made me think someone busted down a door or broke open a window or something. I was scared shitless. I got in an argument with my ex-wife. She threw a punch. I left. Hours later. Hear a knock on my door. Expecting a delivery, I am staring down the barrel of an AR-15 and a Smith & Wesson MP 9mm. She told the cops I had a shotgun and was trying to kill myself. Cops didn't shoot me or beat me. I got kidnapped by a drug dealer. I was walking down the street and a car crashed into a bus stop. A group of guys were joyriding. They got out and ran. As I was walking up, a car pulled up next to me and told me to get in. To which I obviously said no. He apparently thought I had stole the car that belonged to his mate, because there was nobody else around. He jumped out, hit me, took me to a pub where all his mates were and told me they were gonna beat the shit out of me in the back. However, when I got to the pub, I knew like 2 of the guys there and they told him that it definitely wasn't me. I was 13 at the time and during the whole thing I was just in a state of panic. Like I was scared, but kinda like too scared to even react. Maybe it was adrenaline. They let me go and I walked, climbed into bed, and then had a heart attack. This might sound shallow, but the most recent scariest and life-threatening situation I got into was when I found out I got cheated on again. Scary because I could feel my depression slowly growing on my back. I could feel the anxiety all over, gut spreading slowly to the rest of my body. I was scared shitless that the depression and anxiety would cause me to do the same things I did to myself last time. It's life-threatening because of obvious reasons. I have had suicidal thoughts ever since then, but I talked myself out of jumping an overpass down to a freeway, so it's all good. Edit. Thank you everyone for the kind words. And the gold. : In the winter, my best friend and I decided to visit our other friend in Glenwood Springs, CO, where her college was. We were underage and in a small town, so the party scene wasn't really what I thought it would be. What I did for fun was go up a mountain and drink up there. She assured us that plenty of people go every Friday. So we got someone to buy us beer and drove up in a Hyundai Accent. Well, we got stuck and there was no one else there. Us 3 and like 2 other skinny girls. No service. No lights. No signal. No heat. All I had was my case of beer. And after a while I just said FCK it. If I'ma die up here, I'ma die drunk. When help did finally come, I was wide too wasted to help. When help did finally come, I was wide too wasted to help. If only you were sober before the help arrived. You would have been so much help.